Welcome to Turn Into Podcast. I'm Gina Baruch. Join me in my journey and discover how women's stories are woven into our lives, reflecting the beautiful tapestry of human experience. In 2009, I arrived in Mexico City with one suitcase and a head full of dreams. The city is a place where ancient history and modern life collide in a vibrant, breathless dance. It was built on the ruins of a great Aztec capital, where grand cathedrals rise beside ancient pyramids, and every cobblestone street whispers tales of empires past. The air hums with the energy of nearly 9 million souls, a symphony of street vendors' calls, honking horns, and mariachi music drifting from hidden courtyards. Its landscape is a feast for the senses, with the scent of fresh-cut flowers from Xochimilco mixing with the aroma of sizzling street tacos. The city's colors are bold and brilliant, the deep pink of bougainvillea against the pale stone of colonial buildings. The fiery murals of Diego Rivera telling stories on public walls, and the golden light of the setting sun casting a spell over the vast Plaza de la Constitución. Mexico City is not just a destination, it's an experience. It's a city of elegant Art Deco architecture and bustling markets. It's a place of profound beauty and deep contradictions. A city that both embraces and defies its own history, all while inviting you to lose yourself in its intoxicating rhythm. My first home was in the expensive Polanco neighborhood. To my dismay, a tiny room in what looked like a converted chicken coop. For the same price, I could have rented an entire apartment back home. I was barely affording a laundry room space. There were 6 women living downstairs, including Paola, a smiling girl in her early 20s, who quickly became my confidant. One day, she confessed she was recently divorced. "Wait, you're only 21, I asked, completely shocked. "How old were you when you got married?" 12, she replied. Holy moly! My jaw must have hit the floor. Just thinking that at that age I was playing Barbies made me feel totally childish. He was my teacher since first grade, but it was until my 6th grade that we realized we were in love, she said. But how did your parents allow that? I mean, it's illegal to marry children, I exclaimed. Well, my mom was against the relationship, but I was very rebellious and determined to escape with him. So at the end, she gave up and signed up the permission. So, why did you divorce? Because after 12, these ladies grew so big, she said while she was touching her boobies, that he felt disgusting about my body, so he never touched me again. That night, I went to bed asking myself why a kid has to go through some life experiences. I tried not to judge the guy, but I honestly couldn't. It wasn't until years later that I finally understood that he also was deeply suffering. I fell in love with Mexico City immediately. Unlike Puebla, people here were more real, no faking. My favorite sociological sport was going through the metro, the subterranean heart, a vibrant living network of tunnels where millions of stories intersect every day, and the unique calls of vendors selling everything from chewing gum to pirated DVDs. Each station is a portal to a different world, with some displaying ancient Aztec artifacts and others showcasing modern murals that burns with color. Each subway, a microcosm of the city itself. Here, a gay couple shares a passionate, undisguised kiss. Their love, a bold statement in the moving crowd. Just a few feet away, a man newly released from prison set up a circus show to get money. By breaking pieces of glass on the floor with his elbow, he gets his goal quickly. On the other extreme of the wagon, a poet recites beautiful verses into the air. Yet, the person next to them reads a newspaper with complete indifference. It is a place of raw humanity where every story unfolds in its own way, unconcerned with the others. However, I quickly realized my sheltered life in Puebla had left me unprepared for the real world, the perfect target for every scam out there. My job search felt more like a pilgrimage, and during that time, I moved through many different places. One apartment I landed in was with 2 operand students. To cover the rent, we needed one more roommate, so I posted an ad online. That's how I met Norma. She was a few years older than me, and we quickly became close friends. Norma is the embodiment of patience, hard work, and resilience. Having grown up in a large family with limited resources, she began working and living on her own at a young age. Without a college degree, she started as a receptionist at Adidas Mexico. An opportunity soon arose to become the assistant to the key account golf manager. A challenge she accepted without hesitation. Before long, she was doing her boss' job while he attended cocktail parties and took all the credit and a higher salary. For a long time, she never complained. She just worked patiently. As fate would have it, her boss moved to the competition, Puma, and invited her to join his team. This time, she was offered a better position and salary. But life has a sense of humor. Her boss was fired, and she was promoted to his position. She proved that she had the skills and capacity to excel in the role, even without having a formal degree. Norma taught me that success isn't defined by where you come from, but by your hard work and perseverance. She proves that with enough resilience, it is absolutely possible for women to shatter the glass ceiling. Meanwhile, my family's pressure to succeed mounted, and my dad cut my financial support, assuming I was having cocktails instead of job hunting. I was competing with millions for the same positions, and my idealistic self wanted to work for Greenpeace, while my practical side needed to eat. I was offered a position at a top marketing agency, but the salary was so low it couldn't even cover my rent. To make it worse, my dad was calling me every day, begging me to come back to Veracruz, even offered me to pay me a salary if I returned. I refused, and our argument ended with me hanging up the phone, a silence that lasted for over a year. I needed a job fast, so I took a temporary job selling insurance over the phone. I kept telling myself, it's temporary, it's temporary. The jobs suck, but the people were amazing. I met a woman in her 50s who was one of the top sellers. She told me she was there for therapy. I would rather be here around young people, laughing and making money, than be at home, she told me. You don't understand. When I'm at home, he controls everything, including the money. He doesn't give me any single coin. If the kids need a pencil, he buys it. If I need a tomato for cooking, he buys it. Sometimes I feel so impotent and angry that I throw as many milk bottles as I can at the dogs, just so he has to buy more. Her words stopped me cold. That's why I come to sell, she concluded, because when I work, I forget about my own problems. One temporary month turned into 6. By the time I had moved to Condesa, a vibrant neighborhood where I lived in a tiny studio with a roommate in a crumbling triangular building. Anna was a textile designer. She's the one who introduced me to the world of Mexican textiles and some truly thought-provoking essays. Our neighbors were quite a cast of characters. On the first floor lived a young woman who wore a blonde wig and exotic clothes every night. Next to her, an eccentric old woman threw lively parties. On our floor, an amateur actress practiced her lines. In the midst of my job hunt, I was still partying and dating 2 guys who smoked a lot of weed. I was never a smoker, but I would join them. One day, while smoking with one of them, I saw an intense light coming from the ceiling. A hand was reaching out to me, and as I focused, I saw a face. It was Jesus, extending his hand to me. I raised my hand and touched him. Immediately, a strong electrical current rushed through me. So powerful, it felt 10 times stronger than an orgasm. By the time I came back to my body and opened my eyes, tears were falling through my face. I immediately knew this was something different, an experience that transcended a simple height. That was one of the last times I tried weed. I continue my life without having any idea of the meaning of that encounter. I was exhausted. The cold weather, the poor eating, the endless interviews. I was ready to give up. I decided that if I didn't find a job before Christmas, I would leave the city. Then, to my surprise, A company called me. It was a startup that developed a software for recruiting people. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was offered the position as head of marketing. The long, dark season was finally over. On New Year's Eve, my neighbor Maria invited my roommate and me to a party in her apartment. It was a bohemian scene filled with artists, musicians, and writers. There, I met Richard, a shy writer with a peculiar sense of humor. We talked about trivial stuff until he asked me a strange question. "Do you meditate?" I laughed and told him I had tried but couldn't. Then he invited me to a group called Laboratory. "What is it about?" I asked. He said, "I can't explain. You have to experience for yourself." It was the first Sunday of 2010. As usual, I arrived late to an ordinary home in the southern Rome neighborhood. Richard greeted me at the door with a warm smile, gesturing for me to remove my shoes and take a seat on one of the floor cushions. The morning sun, softened by the curtains, illuminated a diverse collection of images: Krishna, Jesus, Buddha, the Virgin of Guadalupe, and a host of angels. A circle of 7 people sat in quiet concentration on satin cushions, their legs folded in the lotus position. In the center of the circle, a thin pad on the floor where a person was lying. The guide, Betty, rang a small bell, and the room was filled with the ambient sounds of New Age music. I had never meditated, but I followed their lead, closing my eyes and simply existing in the moment. Immediately, images began to form behind my eyelids. Not just pictures, but huge packages of data. With each one, I could perceive a complete message, a story told in an instant. After about 15 minutes, the bell rang again, signaling the end of this session. Betty asked the person in the center if she would like to hear what we had perceived. She agreed, and one by one we shared the visions and feelings that had come to us. When we finished, she confirmed that our perceptions had matched her experience perfectly. Now it was my turn. As I lay on the pad, the bell rang, and the New Age music was replaced. I resisted, afraid to be vulnerable, but I soon realized that you cannot hide from love. A powerful energy began to open my chest, breaking down my defenses until my armor was completely gone. Tears streamed down my face as my heart felt a love so pure and innocent it took my breath away. Time seemed to dissolve. When the bell rang again, I felt like I was slowly returning from a far-off place. Betty asked if I want to hear what the group had perceived about me. One person felt my fear of vulnerability. Another mentioned my distance from my father. Someone saw damage to my kidneys, and another had a vision of my childhood. I was in completely shock. I didn't know these people. Richard, the only one I knew, barely knew me. The session continued, and the more I engaged, the more I was able to perceive the others. As the session concluded, We were asked for a voluntary donation of 50 pesos, which is about $2.5. I left with my mind buzzing, but my intuition already knew the truth. I had finally found what I had been searching for. In our next episode, discover how new characters came to my life in this group and how my waking up process had a ripple effect, changing my relationships and my perspective on life. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to support the work I'm doing, please consider checking out my Patreon. You can find the link in the show notes. Your gratitude and support help me create more content you love. You can also follow me at Instagram at Gina Baruch Art. See you next week, and remember, you were born to shine.